Okay. We're just gonna jump right into this. Oh, wait, hang on. I have some bullet points. I need to bring that up. All right, there we go. Okay, no, I just oops, just covered up the bullet points with OBS. There we go. I didn't even spend any time checking OBS's settings this past couple of weeks to see if I could fix any problems with the frame rate. It kind of looks like it's a little bit choppy already. Not like the worst, but also not the best either. So again, just putting this out there because the devs watched my last stream, and I think they said that they're interested in watching this stream as well. That's not the game's performance. That is totally just OBS doing something weird. You should be able to see the performance metrics up here at the top. I need to check volume levels, so once again, my bullet points are in the way. Let's move that way over there. This is a very organized stream. Okay, so I want to talk about Icy Red again, because I played a little bit more. Before jumping into that, I need to get a sip of my beer first. Popped it off a little bit too. Anyways, so before jumping into it right away, there's one thing I want to talk about, and that's gonna be last week's stream. So not last week. Last week I didn't stream, but last time's stream. So there is an improvement. I want to make some adjustments that I want to make to the format of my streams. It's a little bit loud in my headphones. So it happens a lot. I often spend a lot of time like talking about, like sharing opinion and whatever whenever I stream. And so it when there's a limited time frame for that kind of stuff. Oh, why am I stuck? I'm like stuck behind boxes. Okay. There's like a limited time frame in which, you know, I'm providing feedback to developers, and it kind of sucks that like a lot of that time gets wasted while I'm just talking and chatting and whatever. And so what I want to do is what I'd really like is like some sort of timer app on the computer where I can just press a hotkey to pause the timer. So like if I'm in the middle of dialogue or whatever in a game, I can just press that button to pause the timer while I share my opinion. It won't be perfect because I have to, of course, remember to actually press the button, but it should hopefully at least be a little bit more fair. You won't have developers who feel like I spent most of my time just chatting bullshit, wasting away the timer. And that way it also, you know, there'll be more time devoted to actually seeing the game. So ideally, I would love some sort of app that I can press a hotkey to pause a timer. And I will admit I didn't look into this deeply, just kind of like a first page Google search and only one attempt at that. But if you have any suggestions, feel free to let me know, because I think that's just going to make everything much better. Now, option number 2 for adjusting the format is just allowing for more time. You know, like, because I'm going to spend so much time just talking and not focusing on playing the game, maybe it would just be better to reduce the number of games that I play in the stream. Like, instead of playing 4 per stream, I'll just play 3, but instead I will give them like 45 minutes or something. That way, if I do spend a lot of time just talking nonsense, at least they'll have more time, you know. I still think there'll be some developers who will feel frustrated that, you know, if I give them 45 minutes, they're going to be like, well, you spent 10 minutes of that 45 minutes just talking, and it's going to be like, well, that's kind of what the 10 minutes was for. It was initially 35 minutes, but because I talked so much, I gave everyone 10 extra minutes. Yeah, that's kind of the idea. I think, unless I find an appropriate app that I was just talking about where I can, you know, just press a hotkey to pause the timer, until I find some sort of app like that, I think I'm just moving forward. I'm going to, that's just how I'm going to do it, is I'm just going to reduce the number of games that I play down to, just 3 games, but I'm going to give them 45 minutes each. So, yeah, for the folks watching, whether it's in the archive or not, let me know if you got any app ideas, any apps you want to link that just allow me to press a hotkey to pause the timer. And with all that out of the way, I can also talk about this game, because I have a lot to share. It's... I want to take a... I want to get to a moment where I can be serious, and I can just look at the camera and talk straight. So, before... So before I go more in depth about this game, I don't know, we'll just sit here and chat. Oh my gosh, this is really insanely fast movement speed. So I do have quite a few thoughts about this game. I'm a little bit better at it, if you can't tell from last time, whenever I played. But I do really have a lot of thoughts to share on this, so... in fact, I'm not going to take this too seriously. I'm not going to take this run too seriously. I'm not going to explore every single room. I'm just going to go ahead and exit. I'll go ahead and go to the shop, although I don't think I have enough for anything. Yeah. Nada. Alright, so, before I kind of dive into my thoughts, I have a whole list of bullet points that I have open on a notepad to the right of me here. In fact, actually, there's so many bullet points that it doesn't even fit on that whole page. I'm going to have to scroll the page down at some point. It does seem like I hope the developers are watching. They did watch my previous live stream, and I always have to shout out whenever developers are really cool about these streams, because obviously I've had my fair share of developers who don't really appreciate my reviews very much. Don't need to say any names, but of course we have a little bit of a, you know, a little bit of a lore going on here with a specific developer. The developer of the game that shall not be named. Which, by the way, fun fact about that, the stream where he was made aware of me, it performed really well. But thanks to the drama he stirred up, and of course I had to clickbait the hell out of the drama he stirred up, that stream is by far my best performing stream. So, I don't know, maybe I want developers to start shit so I can get better performing streams. So I should be as inflammatory as possible with all my critiques, so that way I piss off as many developers as I can. So that way I can kick up drama and get more views. I think that's the recipe for this. No, anyways. So I do have to say, first of all, they're really cool. I really appreciate them stopping by and watching my stream and leaving a comment. I think the lead developer or someone part of the development team had originally left a comment on the stream. But then I checked my comments recently, and it seemed like he must have deleted his comment. However, the main developer's YouTube channel or whatever did leave a comment of their own as well on the video, so that is still visible there. So anyways, like I said, it's always cool to have developers who respond well to this kind of stuff. So definitely shout out to Whiteboard Games, which, by the way, here's this, which they have a nice touch here of this whiteboard. Haha, it's Whiteboard Games, and you can doodle on it. Woo! Anyways, so yeah, so big shout out to Whiteboard Games. Thank you as always for or thanks to any of the devs for being cool about these reviews. So with that being said, it's very rare that I actually go back to play these games. Obviously, when it comes to the RPG Maker kind of games, I will play people's submissions that I'm friends with, or just games that I was interested in. I'll dedicate a whole stream to that. But it's very rare that I just pick a random game from one of my streams, like this, a lot of games, and then actually play it some more on my own free time. And that's the one thing I should mention, is that I thoroughly enjoyed my time playing Icy Red for my last stream, that I actually wanted to go back and play the game some more on my own free time, which is why I have some more experience with this game and why I have some more thoughts. And I can tell you exactly where the I quit point happened. It's kind of funny because a lot of games that I eventually just drop, it's kind of just like a slow and tired petered out. It's just kind of like all the fun is slowly just vanished from the game, and I just kind of stopped playing it. But in this game, there was a distinct I quit point that happened in this game. So obviously, that kind of already implies that a lot of this review is not going to be the most positive thing. So there's a whole lot of prefacing here that I have to do to basically preempt the developers. I have a lot of negative thoughts on the game coming up, and I know sometimes that's kind of like the toughest stuff to hear. So I feel like I really need to kind of just say not all of this is entirely has to do with the game. I mean, it does and it doesn't. It has to do with the game, but it also has to do with me. So I should very clearly state up front, I do not like roguelite games. It has never been a concept that has ever interested me before, ever since they first started gaining popularity all the way till now. There's basically no roguelite games that I have ever had any interest in. So with that being said, obviously that means that it's a genre that I am not particularly interested in. So with that said, let's move forward with my main complaints about the game. So, dying in roguelites is the you're having too much fun kill switch. Let me explain. So, the way that this game is set up, and this will also come back to be pretty important later. I think I bring up this point somewhere else in my bullet points. I'm not sure. I don't exactly see where it is, but I'm pretty sure I wrote it down. So basically, the game is divided into these sectors and areas. You can't see my mouse cursor, so I can't point to where that exactly is, but you can see in this little screen where the level select is, you can see Sector 1, Area 2. So I think there's 3 areas for each sector. And every time you complete one of these main missions here, the large ones, it moves you forward to the next area. These smaller ones are temporary missions that you can play now for some, bonus, bonus money and bonus exploration, bonus materials, whatever. Yeah, they're not necessary, but they are sort of actually kind of necessary because of what roguelites are. Here's the thing. So dying forces the player to replay the first stages of the game. You may notice that I am on Sector 1 now, despite having played the game quite a bit after the stream. And yet I'm still on Sector 1. And so, yeah, when you die, you go all the way back to Sector 1. Such is the way of roguelites, right? So after, let's see, what do I have written here? After experience with the controls and some permanent upgrades under their belt, this makes dying a real slog. Facing off beginner trash mobs and bosses are spongy, meaning each boss you have to repeat is another speed limiter in the run back to where you died. Yeah, so, okay, so, once you kind of understand the controls of the game and, how the game works, and you have some permanent upgrades, this whole beginning section is a real slog because all the enemies are super easy. And also from what I noticed is that there's not really a lot of random generation in the level. I don't know if there is actual random generation in like maybe the enemies that spawn. But the level layout themselves look exactly the same. So I don't know if that's it could just be because the design just looks that way. But it certainly feels exactly the same every time. I've definitely seen some very similar like rooms. Anyways, it all feels the same. So it feels like you're exploring the same stuff. And that just, again, when you die, you just wind up seeing these same levels with these same enemies that really don't provide a change to the difficulty very much, right? Like, I understand how to play this game now, so all these fights are really, really easy. So it's just like really boring having to replay the same section over and over again because I died. And it's partly to do with the fact that the bosses are really spongy. I think I mentioned that in that same point. Yeah, the bosses have a shit ton of health. And so, first of all, this makes having to repeat bosses really suck because, it's like I already defeated this boss once and it took me like 10 minutes to do it. Great, I look forward to doing the same 10-minute boss again. It's just not that fun with how spongy they are. It's fine for the first time, but for subsequent runs, repeating the boss with that same amount of spongy health really starts to, like, really drag down the game. So, repeating this content over and over, just, to me, it's not fun. Like, cool, have permanent upgrades now, so technically, yes, I should do better, but, there's still also kind of like, occasionally you have some bullshit that just happens. There's one of the guns, I can show you in just a moment, I gotta get a sip of beer. This gun right here. I hate this gun, as far as the player using it, this thing sucks. It really feels like a gun that should have punch through natively on it, but it doesn't. Punch through is only acquired through a passive skill that you have to find, which I think is ridiculous. So basically, it's just a high damage gun. The problem is that, I mean, maybe this could be in one of the later sectors that I didn't see, but the problem is that they're not in places where this gun drops. You don't really want this gun has, like, very low rate of fire. I'm mashing clicking, right? That's how slow it shoots. So it has very slow rate of fire. It has no punch through, but it does high damage, right? There's, like, one boss enemy that you will fight regularly at the end of each of these, I don't know, human levels that I'm in. If you were paying attention, when I started up the stream, I actually fought one in the previous level that I did. And that's like the only enemy where that weapon is kind of viable for. But then these regular trash mobs, it's like totally useless. It is a useless weapon because you really want to do faster damage output. That's really what you want. You don't want slow single target stuff. You want fast multi-target stuff. So yeah, I don't know. There's some strange choices with the balancing there. Like I said, maybe in later levels that gun might, you know, there might be enemies that it's useful for, but during these early levels, which is what I have become quite familiar with, yeah, it's pretty useless. Here we go. This is the boss enemy I'm talking about right here. This boss enemy. So you'll fight this boss enemy quite a lot. The reason I brought up that particular gun was because when enemies hit you with it does a shit ton of damage, and sometimes it can feel really unfair. You don't get a lot of warning when you're, like, near death. I think I talked about this before in some other games, likely in the game that shall not be mentioned. You know, coupled with there's no, like, dedicated place to see the health bar, to quickly see what my health is at. There's also, like, no feedback when you're low on health. You know, you think of, like, that really annoying heart beep in Zelda when you're low on hearts. You hear the beep, beep. You know, letting you know, hey, you're low on health. There's nothing like that in this game, as far as I'm aware, and there's nothing. There's no, like, jelly on the screen, you know, strawberry jam on the screen, or there's no, like, red gradient on the screen or anything to let you know, hey, you're low on health, you should be careful right now. So as a result, it makes deaths feel kind of cheap. Because it's just kind of like, oh, I didn't see that coming. I wasn't paying attention to my health. I was paying attention to all the bad guys around me. So, I'm going to kind of skip ahead here since I'm here at the shop. This is kind of a good opportunity to talk about this. There's some weird design choices. This might come down to the fact that I'm just not, you know, like... You know, I'm not the mathematician here who's, like, crunching the numbers in my head. I'm not a big, you know, like, roguelike player. Like I said, it's not a genre that I enjoy. So maybe I'm just not seeing the benefit here. But, like, there's a lot of these, there's a bunch of passive upgrades here that are like this that I just don't see the purpose for. Healing consumables will fill your rage meter instead of healing you. So it's like, okay, so now my healing items don't heal me anymore. Like, what's the point? The rage meter itself fills up pretty quick. There's also plenty of passives that don't have a negative effect tied to them, that will increase your rage meter. I get that it's kind of based on, like, for sure, this is where some of the randomness comes from. These passives are randomly generated throughout the levels. And so, granted, maybe you're not finding those passives for increasing the speed at which you are able to get your rage meter filled up. But I don't know. To me, like, it's just like I would rather wait until I have, you know, it's like I don't see any purpose in using it now. I'd rather just find those passives that I was just talking about that increase the speed at which this fills. There's a lot of passives like that I just don't... I'm not seeing the benefit for. They often have, like, heavier downsides to them than positives. It's like you get this small positive effect, but there's also this huge negative effect to it. I'll talk more about that later because I think I have a whole point dedicated to that. I want to get to some of these other points. But the main point that I'm trying to make here with my first one is that dying just forces you to replay sections, just this beginning level, this beginning sector over and over again, and it's just not fun seeing that same repeated content over and over again, especially because obviously the first sector is designed to be easy because it's kind of like the tutorial sector. It's the getting to grips with the game sector, which it does good. It does a good job at that. It just sucks that, well, now I have to repeat that shit over and over and over again. And it's not fun now that I have gotten to grips with the game. So, yeah, that's my point there with that first bullet point. So the next point is, like, so if you did die, you were having a good run, but then, oh no, you hit a boss that you weren't familiar with their attack patterns very much, and, you know, it kind of took you by surprise, you died, and now you're back at Sector 1, and you have to repeat everything to get back up to that boss again. The fastest way back to the part where you died is a bad idea. The fastest way to get back there, obviously, is to just dash to the end of each level. Don't do any of these bonus, levels, right? Just go straight to these missions here. Don't do the missions in the inner ring there like I just did. And, you know, don't do any level exploration whatsoever. So just don't do the bonus levels. Don't explore the level. Just dash straight to the end, so that way you can get right back to the boss that you died on quickly. Except that's a bad idea. That's a very bad idea, because obviously, like most roguelites, you are dependent on the passives and upgrades that you find throughout the levels. If you just rush to the end of each level, you will not have many upgrades, and therefore when you get to the boss, you are more likely to die again. So, you have to inherently explore the levels very slowly, so that way you can make sure that you are prepared for the part that you died on. So basically, you can't even just rush back to the part that you died on. You are forced to take everything slow, which just sucks. Let's see. Yeah. The second sentence I have here is slowly going through every level is the most efficient method. Yep, yeah. So, so normally, like, the way I have been playing it is not the most efficient way, the way that you've been watching me play this. So normally what I do, and what I found to be most efficient for me, is to basically just go through it normally, not worry too much about exploration. I'm going to go through this. I'm going to... If I find something like this printing material, which is very, very important, you know, if I find it, then I'll pick it up, but mostly I'm just going to try to find wherever the last fight is for the level. So I'll just kind of rush through it. Probably shouldn't have done that, but that's okay. We're not playing this too seriously. So this is what I normally do, right? So I'm going to just get to this point. This should be the What even did that? Okay, yeah, so that's some of the bullshit I'm fucking talking about. Like, and that's, that's the fun of roguelikes. You never saw it coming. Yeah, that's just some of the bullshit that I'm talking about here. That there's been times where it's like, I feel like I'm playing competently, and then just some fucking bullshit happens, and it's just like, oh, I guess I'm done. So anyways, what I normally do is I would get to this point where I am at the level boss, and I would kill the level boss, and then after that you can explore. So let's see. I only have 3 printing material. Oh, hey, nice to have you here. I've mostly been talking to myself this whole time, but I guess, yes, I do. I suck at games. I will agree with that. I'm not the best video game player. We'll just increase max health, sure. Alright, so, since, I died, let's just try to get to a level and show what I'm talking about, because I want to show off a mechanic that I didn't show off, when I played this game last time. So one annoying thing I guess I can bring up now is this section here where you can do that thing that I just did. That thing that I just did is the permanent upgrades that you can apply to yourself that you will carry over every mission. That's what the printing material is for. That's why I was saying that stuff is important. However, you can only access that after you've died. So, you can't, like, prepare yourself for a boss. You can't, like, save up a bunch of printing material, and then, you know, just before you get to the boss, decide to use that printing material, to, you know, be a little bit more prepared for the fight that's coming up. You can't do that. You're just gonna have to die if you want to use up all that printing material that you've saved up. The self-talk was pretty good. I've had plenty of stuff to say. So, okay, let's try to do this again properly. And should be a little bit easier since this is the very first level. So again, you can see the enemies spawn in very slowly and one at a time because it's the very beginning of the game. So, haha, there's your punishment. You died, so you get to go through the same boring stuff that you've already done plenty of times now in this game. Yeah, it's pretty standard. Yeah, I'm not saying that it's not pretty standard. Like, I'm aware. And I'm just saying, it sucks. It's kind of why I don't like roguelikes, is because of exactly that. I normally don't play roguelikes because I don't find that appealing. It feels like time wasting. Usually you'll have to die to get your permanent upgrades. I'm trying to think about a roguelike where it was a bad choice, but I can't think about any. Maybe it just sucks here because the early stages are not a challenge. Yeah, I think so. I don't know if the early stages, like, this is sort of like the paradox with it all, right? Because if the early stages are a challenge and you're gonna have to go through them many times because you died, like, the more challenging they are, the more likely you're gonna have to repeat the same stage over and over again because it's challenging, right? So if it's easy, hopefully you won't see it as often. But then it's not challenging, so it's also not fun. That's kind of the fucking paradox here, right? It's like, do you want to have a fun experience, but more likely to repeat this same section over and over again? Or do you want a boring experience where you hopefully won't have to repeat it quite as many times? And that's just the deal with roguelikes and why I just really don't enjoy them very much. Okay. Oh, that's good to know. Yeah, those are games I've heard pretty good things about that I've never played because they're roguelikes. So here's a mechanic I didn't know about when I played it during my last stream. So you don't have a mini map, which I think is still a bad thing. I noticed some people, after I left my review, my written review of the game, I noticed some people complained about this. And the developer's response was that, oh, you can press control and you can see waypoints towards unexplored rooms. Well, that's good, but it's actually not a replacement for the mini-map. It would maybe be fine if it stayed up, like if you could toggle it on or off, or if you could at least move while you're holding it down like this, but you can't. So it kind of becomes a little bit of a chore where, you know, you have to stop, hold control, check where the arrows are leading you, and then you let go and you can move again. And now if you're like me, you hoard your items. So normally I might find like an explosive barrel. Let's pretend this box is an explosive barrel. So I'll pick it up and I'll carry it with me for the next challenge, so I'll be ready. Then I'm like, oh, where do I need to go next? I'll hold down control. And, oh, look at that. He drops the box. And then I let go. I have to pick up the box again. And then I can go into the room, right? So it's just, if you had a mini-map, it wouldn't feel quite so tedious. But, so the other thing that I'm saying is that, like, if I wanted to just rush straight to the boss where I had died on, this is what I'd have to do. I'd have to go through this slow process of checking all of these rooms to find, you know, the buffs, the passives, the upgrades that I need to, you know, I'll be ready for the boss whenever I get back to that point. Did I pick up the key card? I don't remember if I did. No, I guess not. Let's see. I mean, it's the same enemies, and it's not challenging either. Maybe it's the duration of it. I mean, you progress through the early levels in those games quick once you know what you're doing. Yeah, and actually, I think you're right about that. I kind of already brought that up earlier in this, is that, so the first sector is like 3 levels, plus there's the boss at the end of the sector, and the boss is really spongy. So you'll, like, the boss will take, like, if you know what you're doing, probably will take less time, but still, it takes like 10 minutes to beat the boss. So it's like, you have 3 levels plus like a 10-minute boss. And then you can finally move on to the next sector. Of course, if you die in the next sector, have fun repeating those same 3 levels plus the 10-minute boss again. Maybe this game isn't for a thinker like yourself. Oh yeah, this one. I mean, this one is okay. I don't know. I'll talk about the passives later. To me, it's just... Okay, so... I know I said I was going to talk about the passive later. Like, that passive was just straight, raw benefit. there's sometimes where these, like, negative ones, like, might make sense for the playstyle, but it just seems like I wouldn't really want this very much. I would rather just when the other passives have just straight positive effects with no negatives, it sort of makes the ones that do have negative effects sort of feel kind of worthless. I'd rather just wait for passives that don't have negative effects, unless, like, the positives that you get out of these are not good enough to warrant it, is what I'm saying. Because I have something like this in my own game, actually. There are two, besides your weapon slot, you have two equipment slots in my game. One of the equipment slots is it provides a very powerful buff, but it also has a negative effect with it. This is actually coupled with a new change I just made to my game, where the second equipment slot has a raw benefit, but it's a percentage-based benefit based on your stats. So the first accessory is increasing the stats with a flat number, while the second one is increasing it by a percentage. So that way you can, if you take this one that applies a negative effect but increases your flat rate by a lot, then suddenly increasing it, the percentage, using an item that increases percentage will, like, really make that way more effective, right? I just don't see, like, you don't have those really strong positives with the negative trade-off here. It's kind of like a meh positive with a negative, you know? Let's say you take 5 minutes per level plus 10 for the boss. That's 25 minutes. Way too long. You can finish an entire run in 25 minutes in Dead Cells. Yeah, right? And what I'm saying, too, is, like, if you want to be prepared for the boss, you got to kind of do this thorough, like, checking every room for the upgrades and all that kind of stuff. You have to kind of explore the level. And I find exploring the level quite entertaining. I love exploration in games. But, boy, do I don't really want to repeat the exploration over and over again. He's dead. Let's see. Man, I've only gotten through 2 of my bullet points. Jeez. I've kind of, like, jumped back and forth between exploration and combat, though, so I think I've actually checked off more bullet points than I actually am aware of. Let's see. Perhaps this is a small bonus since it seems levels aren't random. You could theoretically memorize where stuff is to get in and out faster, but what it actually means is making the intro levels even more of a slog. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't think there's any randomness in the generation of these level layouts. Like, some of the items and maybe the enemies, although they are pretty similar. Like, you have the melee guys and the shooty guys. Like, you know, like, that kind of stuff might be random, but the layout of the level themselves is the same. So, theoretically, I guess it's a positive, where you could memorize these levels after many, many runs. You could memorize these levels and get in and out pretty quickly. You know where the upgrades are, so you can just dash straight to them, grab the upgrades, and then get the hell out. But, really, to me, what it means is that you're not seeing anything new. Like, there's no new content. Every time you die, you're just repeating the exact same levels. One small annoyance thing, I don't think this is one of my bullet points either. So when you buy something from the shop, like, it takes your money, but it doesn't automatically give you the passive. You have to press, you know, F again to get it. Fortunately, I haven't had any opportunity. I haven't accidentally, like, bought something and then just left the shop without equipping it. But I could easily see that is like, that is so frustrating, because it feels like, well, I want that. That's why I spent the money on it. You should just automatically equip it. Why would I spend the money on it and not just automatically equip it? It's kind of kind of ridiculous, if you ask me. And the problem, too, is that when you leave the shop, it disappears. So, like, if I go back here, see? Bye-bye, shop. So, if you bought the... if you bought the thing and then left the shop and then was like, oh, shit, I forgot to grab it, and then go back, well, too bad. Too bad. You left. It's over, man. Let's try to get through some of these bullet points a little bit faster. There's no way to apply permanent upgrades unless you die. Yeah, I already kind of brought this up, so maybe I don't need to talk too much about this. This only exacerbates the chances of you dying prematurely since you can't authentically prepare for tough fights ahead. Yeah, I get it. Like you had mentioned, you know, that's pretty typical for roguelite. As someone who doesn't play this genre, I find that really irritating. I wish you could just apply permanent upgrades whenever you want. It also just, to me, doesn't feel like it makes much sense in the realm of this world. Like, you're in a ship, why don't you just fly back home, apply the upgrade, and then fly back to where you were? I don't know. Anyways, I already talked about that, so let's just move on. Ideally, I feel like there should be some sort of sympathy mechanic to help you maintain some of your momentum after you die, such as being able to preserve some of your favorite passives between deaths. Yeah, so, my quit moment in this game was I got to the boss of the second sector. I was not prepared for what the boss was about to throw at me, and I felt like I had some pretty good stuff equipped on my character. I had this great stack of the same passives where, like, every time I cleared a room, I'd basically restore to full health. Super cool. I was glad I found that many passives to be able to do that. I had all sorts of great survival stuff on there. Of course, for really long endurance fights, it was totally useless. So it really sucked when I died and I lost all of that. I get it, that's the genre. I'm not saying that you should be able to equip or keep all of that into the next run, but if the intro is going to be so long, it might be nice to have some sort of sympathy mechanic where it's like, pick your 3 favorite passives or whatever. So that way it doesn't feel like you are, like, you're not, I don't know, you don't have to, you feel like you get to keep something from your run. It doesn't feel like you lost everything. And I get that's kind of what permanents are supposed to be for, the permanent upgrades, but the permanent upgrades are not the same as the passives. The passives are the fun things. The permanent upgrades are just like more health, more damage. You know, it's not the fun stuff. Look, it's this one again. So actually that brings up another point. On the note of these passives, it would be super, since you are, you know, encouraged to explore and find the passives. So let me leave this room. It's not going to show me. If I leave this room, oh, here we go. You can see that there is an arrow leading to the passive that I just found. Okay, it's not going to show it here, but there is an arrow leading to this passive. These levels can get really large in the later stages, and that becomes pretty confusing. They get large and kind of maze-like, where the rooms themselves might be, the single room might be very maze-like, so despite having entered the room, I might not have explored the entire room. So, you know, being told, like, hey, there's a room you already explored, but you didn't pick up the passive there, you know, that having that extra arrow there kind of becomes confusing. So it would also be really nice, this is likewise with the sympathy mechanic, where if you're encouraged to explore these places, it would be really cool if you could pick up the passive but not equip it, and then take the passive to, like, the shop and sell it, so that way you could maybe buy a different passive that is more interesting to you. Yeah, that kind of clears out all of my I hate roguelikes. Dying is the you're having too much fun kill switch point. The next main topic is exploration gets tedious. And I think I've kind of already covered a lot of the points here, so I may have already covered most of the points I wanted to say about this game, but let's go through them anyways. The levels get very sprawling and maze-like, which makes it take longer to explore. Without a mini-map, it becomes really tiring to press control to constantly check the waypoint. Yeah, that kind of covers 2 points that I had already talked about. I just talked about the maze-like levels. They do get quite sprawling in the second sector of the game. So it makes exploration tedious when you have to repeat so much of this content over and over again. And then also with the minimap, the missing minimap. This arrow thing is not a good substitute for a minimap. Yeah, I don't know if there's much else to say about that. Another thing that just kind of occurred to me is like the rate at which you generate money in this game is not exactly very fast. So I feel like another sympathy mechanic that might be nice for getting kind of back into where you had left off at would be like after each death you get like, you know, 5% more currency generation or something like that. Something small. 5% might be a lot, but at least you're able to accrue more money quickly so that way you can buy more passives sooner, at least. Let's see. I need to scroll down the page. There we go. Sorry about that. Let's see, I'm no math whiz, but a lot of the passives seem like poor choices, often having a negative and positive effect, with the negative effect being more potent than the positive effect. One weird example, I didn't talk about this. I did already mention the first half of that. One weird example was a passive that launched a missile automatically, randomly, but with a very low chance to launch. But then, a 50% chance that the missile would target the player, or a 50% chance that it would target an enemy. Why? It's already a low chance that it procs, and now the chances are even lower that it will provide any benefit. It's kind of ridiculous shit like that, where it's just like, I don't get it. I don't see the benefit here. See, next point. The waypoints will guide you to these passives, but if it's a passive you don't want, there's nothing you can do with it. Right, so I already brought this up. Yeah, so if you find a passive but you don't want it, there's nothing you can do with it, and the waypoint will continue to guide you back to that passive even though you don't want it. Let's see, which makes it feel like exploration was a waste of my time, and that you aren't maximizing your effectiveness. Yeah, so like when you find a passive but you don't want it, it's like, well, I feel like I do need to equip a passive because there's only so many passives per level. And oh my gosh. I died here again. This is the same level I died on before. Oh my gosh. That one was my fault. I was just playing fucking dumb there. I'll admit that. But yeah, so you it feels like there's only a limited number of passives per level, so it feels like you ideally should be equipping as many passives per level as you should. So when you find a passive and it's not something you want to equip, it kind of sucks because it feels like you're not really maximizing your potential. Which is why I was saying it would be nice if there's some sort of sympathy mechanic where you could like pick up the passive, bring it to the shop and sell it. Similarly, the constant waypoints going back to the unwanted passive can be confusing at times, especially in the larger levels. Yeah, so that's something I already brought up. In the maze-like levels, you having that constant waypoint going back to that passive just becomes confusing. Hello, Visky. Nice to have you here. Ideally, okay, I brought that up. So these are my final notes. You have to complete a zone in order to save. Well, not technically, but if you don't complete the zone when you save and quit, you'll be back to the start of the zone, artificially extending play session time. Yeah. Right. So I found this out because when I played this game on stream, I didn't finish the. Sorry, I wrote it as zone in my notes, but it's technically sector. So you have your sector in the top left of the screen there. And in order to save and quit, you have to complete the sector. Technically, you don't have to. It will save... I think it will save like all the passives you've acquired, but it's going to put you back at the beginning of the sector again. I had found this out whenever I had started playing the game again after the stream last time, and the first sector took what felt like a really long time because I think when I played it during the stream and I played maybe like 2 missions into the sector or something, and then I'd quit, and then I played it after the stream. And I played maybe a couple more missions, but I needed to stop, go do something else, so I saved and quit. And then I came back to it and played some more, and I was like, man, this sector is really fucking long, right? And then I realized, oh, that's because every time I quit, it's just putting me back to the beginning of the sector, which is, I don't know why it's like that. This is where things like my game rules would allow people to adjust the game parameters so that they can enjoy the game they purchased. More on my game rules later. I wanted to talk about my game rules for 2 reasons, which is going to be the second half of the stream because I don't have any other games to play, and I'm wrapping up my thoughts on this game, and we're only an hour into the stream, so obviously we need more content. But that's also because Puppet Quest, the developer of Puppet Quest, also had a very kind response. I should shout him out. I should shout him out, but I don't remember his name. It's like Elucidatory Villain or something like that. I don't know. Anyways, he was also another cool developer who had a kind response to my review of his game. One of the points he had brought up was that he wasn't really sure what kind of options he should add to his game. Like, he made a note of saying, like, I should add options, but what kind of options should I add? And then, likewise, a little while ago at this point, I think there was someone else who had brought up, like, how to do options in RPG Maker. There was also, it was not a developer, there was another game. There's a tactics game. It was like that fan game for, like, DC and, like, the Beatles or whatever. I don't remember what it was called. But the developer was a pretty nice guy. I mean, he had a pretty short response. It wasn't like a worthy response of shouting out, but at least it wasn't impolite. However, one of his fans did have a pretty shitty response, and one of the responses he had made was like, "Bro, it's RPG Maker. You can't add options to RPG Maker." And it's like, ooh, you really said that to me. Like, you said that to the wrong person. Like, you could have said that to a lot of people, and they might have just nodded their head and say, "Yep, you're right about that. You can't add options to RPG Maker." But you said it to me, so it's kind of like there's been a lot of instances where I feel like I need to talk about options, and so that's why I decided I wanted to bring that up for this stream, is because I want to talk about it in depth. It's been a while since I've actually brought up my game rules thing. So anyways, but yeah, things like game rules would... Sounds like the Dunning-Kruger effect. What is that? What is that? I've heard that before, but I'm not up on the terminology. Dunning-Kruger effect. Dunning-Kruger effect is a cognitive bias in which people wrongly overestimate their knowledge or ability in a specific area. This tends to occur because a lack of self-awareness prevents them from accurately assessing their own skills. Are you saying I have a lack of self-awareness? Is that what you're saying here, Mr. Orc? I might. I don't think so, but I might. So anyways, I think I really feel like something like the game rules thing that I've set up in my game would benefit roguelikes a lot. And I get it, there's gonna be the people who are like, it's gonna come back to basically the fucking Dark Souls difficulty argument, which I don't know why it's such a difficult thing to like discuss sometimes, because people get way too heated about that discussion. I get it. So the developers could potentially see it as the same thing, like, well, we shouldn't have an easy mode. And it's like, I don't really see my game rules as an easy mode. I mean, you can theoretically make the game much easier with the game rules. That's kind of what they're there for. But it's allowing you to adjust things that you don't like about the game, so that way you can enjoy it more. Dunning-Kruger effect is when you think you have the plan when you actually don't. You're so inexperienced that you just don't know all the shit you don't know yet. Yeah, and this guy who had responded to me, I don't think he was a game developer at all. He was just a fan of this guy's work or whatever, and decided to white knight for him, and yeah. Doesn't have any experience with the engine, telling the guy who is obsessed with adding options to his game. And one of the most enjoyable parts to game development to me is finding places to add options. Telling me you can't add options to the game. It's like, oh, actually. Anyways. So here's the last point that I had brought up. Or the last point I have in my notes, judging by the really low % of players that have earned some of the early game achievements, it looks like the game has a real quit problem. And if I had to guess, it happens exactly the same as it did for me. Players were having a lot of fun. Then the "you're having too much fun" kill switch was flipped. Yeah, I know that, player retention drops off pretty quickly in pretty much any game, but, seriously, there's, some really early game achievements that have, 4%, and I was like, woo, boy, that's nuts. People are really just, noping out of this game. So, those are all of my thoughts on it. I don't think I really quite clearly mentioned what exactly happened that made me want to quit out of the game. I mean, I kind of brought it up loosely. Basically, I got to the second sector's boss. The second sector's boss, really overwhelmed me. You get to this alien planet. You're not just fighting dudes all the time. And I will admit, the aliens are actually kind of more fun enemies. They're a little bit more challenging, but they're also more interesting to fight. And the alien boss was like this boss that would, relatively speaking, he didn't attack very much. However, he would like spit out eggs that would like spawn enemies, and so you're basically having to juggle with destroying the eggs before the enemies would spawn, and also trying to deal with the boss. But of course, as the boss fight progressed, he would start spitting out more and more eggs more frequently, where it just started becoming really overwhelming. And as I was saying, I did bring this up. I had like a good kit that was going on that, as far as exploring levels went, was like fucking great. As far as killing bosses for endurance runs, not so great. But I was just having lots of fun. I had some cool like skills that I could like combo and stuff. It's like there's just mechanical interest that was within the kit that I had built up over the 2 sectors that I had explored. And then because I just wasn't prepared for this boss to like overwhelm me with enemies, I died. And then I realized I lost all of the fun, mechanically interesting things about my playthrough, and had to go through all of Sector 1 again, and basically all of Sector 2 again, to get back to where I was if I wanted to see new content. And considering how long that takes, I was kind of like, yeah, no thanks. I'm done with this game. That's going to be my quit point. So, yeah, those are my final thoughts on the game. It's unfortunate because the base mechanics are fun. And this is what I was saying about the options menu stuff, because there is fun to be had with the game. Unfortunately, there are also foundational things with the game that make me not really want to continue playing it anymore. So, yeah, let's talk about options. So, I have opened up RPG Maker here. So let's just get an idea of what RPG Maker options look like, since there are some people who aren't aware of the fact that you can add weak fiddle mindset. That's right. The devs have weak fiddle mindset. Whoa! What happened to the chat? Wait, is that OBS fucking up, or did you guys see that too? It like stretched, stretched your message like across the whole bottom there. Oh, I think I accidentally. Oh man, I fucked with my. Can I like undo that? Yeah, there we go. Okay. All right. I accidentally pressed like a hotkey to stretch the chat across the screen. Okay, so right. Since there are people who think that you can't do options in RPG Maker, let's just start off by looking at what options in RPG Maker look like. So first of all, I have like completely refreshed. This is using Yawnfly's option core, obviously. It's what has allowed me to add options, but I've made adjustments to it as well to kind of fit my game and have things make more sense. Like, I think one of the default things with options core is that you have a whole tab over here to the left dedicated to controls, but then you get this whole window box here to the right that has a single option in it, and it's just kind of like, why? So, you know, like as one example is I've moved key bindings just into the general tab. To me, it makes sense to have it in the general tab. And of course, it has its own dedicated row here at the top with the space in between. So, yeah, so you have key bindings there. I've moved other things that made more sense. Like I think they had battle animation speed in visual stuff, and I kind of get the logic there, but to me it's more of a general kind of gameplay thing. Visual thing, to me, when I think of visuals, I'm thinking of like other PC game titles where visual is going to be like performance stuff. So that's basically what visual is limited for, is just game performance stuff. So, you know, I've moved some stuff around that to me makes more sense. So these are all just like your general options that you can access at any time. However, of course, I have my game rules thing, which is options, but also kind of a game mechanic in themselves. The game rules have kind of taken up an interesting place in my game's design. And game rules are basically difficulty options. Not difficulty kind of gives the wrong idea. It's not just difficulty, but game options, game design options, to kind of tailor the experience to something that you would find more enjoyable. However, the one caveat to it all is that you can't change these rules after you start a new game. And I do realize, I'm aware that there's sort of an unfortunate contradiction here, is that most of these things are not going to make sense to new players. Even if they kind of understand the description here, which, yeah, they're rules. You got it. They're game rules. Some of these explanations people might be able to understand. There's very limited space for me to fit a description here. I've considered using like SRD's like menu editor to like kind of move stuff around to make more space for things. I might do that in the future, but either way, I can only fit as much as I can. I can provide the best description I possibly can in basically 2 lines of text. To explain what these do, and even then, that's not going to be enough until you have kind of a sense of how the game flows and what these things mean for the game. Usually, until after you've played the game. So there is sort of an inherent unfortunate contradiction here, where it's kind of like you probably wouldn't want to play around with the game rules very much until after you've beaten the game once. There may be some people who are crazy enough to, like XP rate. Some people might be like, oh, well, you know, I want to get levels faster, so I'm going to lower the XP rate a little bit. Of course, the XP rate in my game is not your typical XP thing either. So, people might be thinking, oh, like your typical JRPG XP rate. They might be just thinking, like, rate might be, like, how the curve is defined. No, that's not how the curve is defined. There is no curve in my game. There is no XP curve. So anyways, people can go in here and change these options to fit their needs. Maybe some of them players might want to change at the very start, but some of them probably it's going to take a second playthrough, which I understand. There's probably not going to be that many players who actually make it to a second playthrough. My idea to kind of get around this is that my hope is to create presets. And the game already prompts you at the very start of the game. It says, hey, we have a bunch of options. You should check out the options. And my hope is to actually say, hey, we have a bunch of options. You can either change these options yourself, or you can take a look at some of these presets, and the presets will just be named like a faster game, or easier game, more difficult game, slightly more difficult game, you know, stuff like that. So there will be presets that players can just select, and that way they don't have to really understand what any of this means in order to kind of have things adjusted how I feel might be appropriate for them. So, anyways, that's something for me to think about in the future. I mostly just wanted to show off that you have things like this. You can adjust the XP rate. I just recently changed the XP rate, so because I changed the required XP defaults, the gauge now goes off the off the side here. So obviously I need to fix that. It's a work in progress, obviously. But anyways, yeah, so you have your XP rate, battle start compy formula. You know, you have a bunch of different options here. yeah, I'm not going to go through all of these because it would obviously take a while to explain all of them. But there you have it. You can see a number of different options here. And you can see I've also tried to break it down into a more sensible layout here as well. We have battle. So all of these are going to affect the battle. You can also see there's a description there. Altered behaviors and formulas related to combat and defeat. Detailed information of settings can be found in the game manual. Exploration, altered behaviors and formulas concerning explorations and puzzles. And then community, altered behaviors and formulas related to community and NPC interactions. Of course, there's actually not that many down here right now. But also, I haven't really worked that much on the community itself. So, anyways, like I said, I just wanted to kind of give context for what options in RPG Maker looks like. So we can see how I set these up. Like I said, this mostly relies on options core. And for your regular options, like just general options, it's pretty easy to set up just a general option that you can just turn on and off at any time. It's kind of funny because having these options that are static during gameplay, like options that cannot be changed once the game is started, actually requires more steps. So if you just wanted to set up options that players can change at any time just by, pressing escape, opening up the main menu, going to options, and then changing something on or off, or plus or minus, whatever, that's pretty easy to set up. You just have Yawnfly options core. Technically, if you want to make sure that it carries across from the title menu into the game, you also need Olivia's or any sort of meta control plugin. I'm using Olivia's meta controls because that was the one that was recommended to me. And basically, with meta controls, you just apply either global meta or local meta tags to either your switch or variables name. And that way, these switches or variables now become global switches or variables, which allows that information to be passed to any save game. So you'd need that, and then of course you need the Yawnfly options core. And then from there, you would just, like, for example, if we go to my visual options, I have this noise filter intensity option. This was actually the very first option I had ever implemented into my game for a visual effect that is so subtle that most people don't even realize it's there. I don't think anyone during the beta test noticed that it was there. And it doesn't really even add that much to the game. But damn it, I'm stubborn, so I'm not removing it. It doesn't add anything to the game, but I'm fucking leaving it in there. It was the very first option for the game. Anyways, so in this case, you'd have the draw options text right here. A lot of the stuff I don't even understand what it's doing. A lot of the stuff is also like in some of the default options for Yawnfly option core. So you just need to adjust some things here. This variable rate value out of 3, clamp, if value is greater than 6, blah, blah, blah. This kind of thing here. I will change, like, it's important for how I've set up the game rules in my game. So probably I should come back to that later. But anyways, there's not really much to do in the draw options code. But then when you get to the process OK code, here you're going to set like the value. This is the value, how much it increases the variable every time you press the OK key. So in this case, it's just going to increase the variable by 1. For some of the game rule options, I change how much it increases the value by, maybe by 5 or maybe by 10 or whatever the option is controlling. And then down here is setting what variable it's actually controlling. So like down here, I have game variables dot set value 40 a value. So down here is where you're going to define that variable that's being controlled. And because it's a global meta variable, if you set this in the title menu screen, or you set this in save game slot 1, or you set this option in save game slot 2, doesn't matter. all this information is going to be passed across all of the games, all across the entire game. You'll set up the same thing for right code and left code, except this one's going to be +1, this one's going to be -1. Excuse me. You have the default config code doesn't actually work properly in Yanfly Options Core, which is upsetting, especially for how much I use how much I utilize Options Core. Default config code just doesn't seem to work properly. Basically, you would need to use the load config code here using this script, which I think Kathril, one of the mods at the forum, had actually had written out for me, which works kind of, except not really. It still doesn't really set the default properly. So like, this is going to become a real nuisance with my game. Is like, anytime that I deploy the game, what I'm going to have to do with the deployed version, before uploading the deployed version, I need to make sure that I go into the option setting and set the default options there. Because otherwise, it will not have the default options set up properly. They will be set at just other random values. But that's not very fun. Setting that up is pretty easy, and I think there's plenty of tutorials on how to set that up. It does exist for the people out there who think that you can't do this. There are actually tutorials that you can follow on how to set up options like this. I know I didn't give a very good explanation on how to do that, but I don't need to, because there are tutorials. I know this because I follow tutorials on getting the initial very first option in my game set up. And now that that's been done, I've learned how to use that and have very extensively utilized that. So that brings me to game rules. So like I said, game rules is unique in the sense that it cannot be accessed into a save game. So here's the problem, right? So if we're using global meta variables from the title screen in order to control options within the game, that means even if we had the ability to somehow hide game rules, which by the way you can do in options core, you can hide certain options from the options menu. Even if we had the ability to hide a whole section of the options menu, you could still have someone like, you could just exit out of your save game, go back into the title menu, then go into the options menu and go to game rules, and then make changes there, and then go back into your save game, and it would load up all those changes despite the fact that the options for those changes don't exist within that save game. So you need a method to pass that dynamic information off into static information, information that cannot be changed. And so that's where things get a little bit more complicated. So first of all, I have the show hide rule set up here, which basically is checking if a switch is on. If it's on, then you can access game rules. If not, then you cannot access game rules. Fairly simple right there. And basically at the very start of the game, and the reason why this exists too is because, as I mentioned previously, is at the very start of the game, you're asked, hey, we have a bunch of options that you can adjust. Do you want to make adjustments to any of these options? And so in order to be able to allow for that change, I need to have a switch that can control that. You technically could control this just by checking what scene you're in. I think originally this is actually how I had it set up, is you could just check if the player is in the title scene, then display these options. If the player is not in the title scene, then don't display these options. But that's not going to work if I ask the player if they want to adjust the options once the game has been started, because now that the game has started, they're not in the title scene, and therefore they wouldn't be able to access the options. So I used a switch to control that. Now, with that switch enabled, players can adjust the rules before actually getting into the game proper. But now we still need to pass that information off into the game itself. And that's where a common event comes in, where I have rules set up here. And this is where things get a little bit messy. It's not super confusing, but basically all it is doing is it's passing the information off to a static variable. So for every global meta variable, there is a static variable equivalent of it. And so basically we have control variables. We're controlling the static version, and this is going to drive me nuts. Let's see, that's variable 95. Let's go to 95. Static. Let's keep the naming scheme consistent here. We have the static version of it, which is going to be the version that cannot be changed. And then we're going to set it based on the variable, the global meta base gold. Also called chest base gold, which is technically true. It is only controlling the chest base gold. But let's keep it, again, naming consistent base gold. There we go. So anyways, and I do that for everything here. Things get a little bit more interesting with switches. The way that Yanfly handles the switches is sort of backwards. I mean, I guess this is really nitpicky. It doesn't really matter too much, but like Yanfly puts on the left side and off on the right side whenever you set up a switch option in Options Core. I don't really like that. To me, it feels like it should be the other way around. And so you have to do this weird thing where you need to pass the switch onto a variable. So basically here, because the thing is you can't set a... I guess technically you could pass it on to another switch. But in this case, it just seemed easier to pass it off to a variable. So you have to set up a conditional. So if this, because you can't set a switch. It's really personal though. I'd be weirded out when it was reversed like you want it. Whatever. Anyways. Yeah, who cares? Doesn't matter. The thing is that typically my on and off for a lot of the options has been renamed to something else. So anyways. So you have to have a conditional to check what to do with the switch. So you have a conditional here. If that switch is on, then you're gonna set the variable to 1. Otherwise, set it to 0. So for the switches, it gets a little bit more weird. But anyways, so you can see that you have the global meta conditional here. Global meta. What is this one? We're looking at 19. Global meta residual comp switch. So if that one is on, then it's going to pass it off to static residual comp like that. So this is how the whole thing is set up in my game. It's basically we're just taking the global meta data and we're passing it off into static data. Then all these variables, the static variables themselves, are controlling these things. So for example, like the max community XP variable here. Let's take a look at that one since I'm close by to that one. So how do I use that, right? That's the main thing. How do I utilize that variable? I guess we'll go ahead and apply those changes, sure. So if I go to my community here and we look here, there's going to be a section in this. So here, this is where it's utilizing that variable, right? So in this case, we have community XP. If we're using a conditional branch here, if the community XP is equal to or greater than the static max community, what is this, 60? Max community XP variable, then we'll have this event run. So this system right here is how I set up the experience system for my game's town, because as the game progresses, the town kind of evolves, or yeah, as the game progresses, as you do more stuff, as you help out NPCs, as you complete levels, as you pick up trash, the town will become happier. And so how this is done is I've built this XP system here. So you'll collect XP, and then after you've collected so much XP, that XP rolls over into a new level, just like, you know, any regular leveling system for like a player character or something like that. It functions the same thing. So basically, it's just checking if the comp is greater than the static max community XP, and that whatever that static max community XP has been set in the options menu, right? So, for example, sure, we'll save the game. Let's just look at the default option here. So we're going to go down to community. Community XP value is set to 30 by default. Once again, I just recently actually changed this value, so now the gauge is going off the chart. I'll need to fix that, but anyways. So basically, the default value right now is set to 30. So if it's set to 30 here, that means when we're running this check in the community, basically it's saying if the community XP is equal to 30 or more, or is equal to or greater than 30 right here, which is this variable, then it's going to run all of this stuff, which is for increasing the level of the community. So that's just one example of how I've utilized the variable data in my game, how options have controlled that variable data. Also with like Yawnfly's, a lot of Yawnfly's plugins, you have the lunatic mode. So basically for whatever, from stats and parameters and I don't know, combat formulas, you can apply, you know, code to it. And you can apply like variables as part of that code. So basically I could just define like, hey, for this stat, it's going to be defined by this variable, which might be one of the game rule variables. In fact, that's how I have it set up in my game. Like I said, there is no XP curve. Because enemies level up as you level up, there's no reason to have this XP curve. It's just, it makes so much more sense to kind of have a flat XP curve. So you are, every level requires the same amount of experience. And so, you know, there's an option to control how much experience it requires to level up once. And with Yawnfly's plugins, you know, I can go to, I think it's classes. Yeah, here. And, you know, I put in custom XP formula, and then here's value is equal to game variables.value 98. Well, if we look at what variable 98 is, I can promise you it's going to be a static Fiddle's XP rate variable. Like, let's just take a look at that real fast. Do we have 98 in here? There's 98. Static XP rate is equal to global meta player XP rate. So there we go. So I've passed this variable information off into this note tag here to define the XP formula. So yes, there's that. There are other various options and stuff. Like setting this up is... On the one hand, it makes some things a lot easier to change because it's just relying on a... Not a bad idea. I can put on some background music. I have a whole soundtrack that we can listen to. I don't know, it's just not something that pops into my head. But let's just hop on over to the album here, the audio collection. That's what we're looking for. And we'll just drag and drop that right in here. We're going to remove this from the playlist. Oh, why is it not in order? Oh, it's shuffle. That's why. That would make sense. Check the volume. Yeah, you know, my stream's kind of more of a bring your own soundtrack. Just in time for Nolan's music. Yeah. Well, I'm not taking a pee break. I know that's when I usually play my soundtrack, but that's not what I'm doing right now. So. Yeah, you shut up. It's a bring your own soundtrack kind of thing. Anyways, yeah, I don't know. I feel like I've explained a lot of how I've used the options, like passing the options off into the game itself. There are some things where it gets a little bit weird. I have a particular item in my game. There's actually two different things. There's no, actually the weird one is going to be the passives. This is also a recent change that I made to my game. I guess I can just discuss this a little bit, because this is something I've been... yeah, the title music. Anyways, this was a recent change that I wouldn't mind some opinions on that I made. So back when I did the playtest, I had something in my game called confidence balance, where basically, if you think of your magic meter, basically the lower part of the magic meter and the top part of the magic meter would apply special buffs. And then anywhere in the middle, you just wouldn't have the buff at all. Now, a lot of people didn't utilize it very much because they just either didn't get to use it very much because the percentage of the meters that it occupied for that buff was so low that they just didn't get the experience, the ability to use that very often. So I did actually adjust that. Now the range of the meters, it's much better. I think in total it's 30% with 15% on the bottom and 50% on the top. No, I changed it because you're at the bottom more often than you're at the top. So I think I actually wound up changing it to like 10% at the bottom and 20% at the top. Anyways, however, I had another idea for another effect, which is a gate mechanic. You have shield gating in a lot of different games that utilize shield mechanics. In a lot of first-person games, you have shield gating, where basically, you have your shield before you start having your health take damage. And normally, the way that shield gating works is that your shield will go down, and then it will, when you hit 0, it will just stop all the damage before it goes right into your health. So it's not like it carries over. Like if this, let's say you have 10 points of shield left, and damage is coming in that's going to do 100 points of damage, right? It's not going to wipe out your shield and then do 90 points of damage to your health. Instead, the way that shield gating often works is that you will just stop as soon as it hits 0, right? I kind of implemented something similar to my game, except you probably more know it as like endurance, which is like it's in a lot of RPGs. It's pretty common, where basically if an attack is going to be lethal, it's going to kill you. Instead of it killing you outright, it's going to stop at 1 HP. Is my gate a little bit too aggressive on my voice? I actually thought I did remove the gate, but maybe not. Let's go to filters. There is a noise gate. We'll just lower it to like 55 or something. Anyways, it's weird because I really haven't had that much problem with the gate in the past. I used to have a lot of problem with the gate. Anyways, who cares? So I wound up adding this health gate to my game, where as a passive ability, you will have the you'll take a lethal hit. Oh, you're talking about the vol. Oh, okay, the audio pumping. Okay. Oops, I just muted the music. I think I can just turn this up and it's going to reduce the how much it pumps the audio. I think it was pretty aggressive. I noticed that. Let's see how much. I don't know. It drops it all the way down to like 40, which is pretty quiet. Well, I don't know. It's going down to 25. You need fiddle music for Origins. Turn this up just a little bit more. Okay, so anyways, I think that's gonna be... I'll just turn it off for now, whatever. This song's pretty quiet anyways. So anyways, basically, the way that the HP gate works is going to be like, you know, your endurance type skill in Pokemon or other JRPGs, where basically you're going to take a hit, and if the hit is lethal damage, it will stop at 1 point of health, but then the gate that will stop you from dying will be removed, obviously. And in order to repair the gate, you have to restore your health back up to a certain amount of percentage. So this was a new passive that I had added to my game. And I realized that, so the way that I had it set up in my game is at the completion of each level, you would get a combat skill instead. And the combat skills were kind of boring, because the combat skill would basically be a multi-target version of whatever element was that level. So if you are in the fire level, then you would get a multi-target fire attack. And you know, I kind of didn't like that I want the multi-target skills to be in my game, but I just don't like that being a final level reward. And it suddenly occurred to me, oh, I have this health gate passive and I have this Conbal passive. Those would actually be really great end level rewards. And so I decided what I wanted to do is to move Conbal off as just a starting effect in the game. So no longer will you just start the game with Conbal enabled. Instead, you need to complete the appropriate level that gives you Conbal as a passive effect. And this way, too, it doesn't feel like it's not something that you need to learn how to use. It would benefit you if you learn how to use, but it mostly acts as just a nice little bonus instead of having to learn how to utilize the mechanic well. But that's sort of where I wanted the opinion from. I have a lot of different ideas for fun passives in my game that I could probably come up with more than the number of levels in my game. So I could very easily I could very easily just add... I could very easily just make Conval just a starting passive that you have, and then make the other levels award different passives instead. I feel like I wouldn't really get much of an opinion on this because obviously, like I said, not many people, thanks Michael Primo for joining, because like I said, not many people really took advantage of Conval during the beta test. But I guess what I'm asking is, should it be a starting mechanic or not? I've been recently playtesting my game, like from beginning through all of the completed content, which is why some of the numbers have changed recently, what I was talking about with the options menu. And, like, on the one hand, I appreciate how much more simplified it makes the beginning. One thing I do really, something that I think is kind of built into the DNA of my game's design is simple battles, simple design. You know, there's not a lot of complexity in it. I've really kind of taken out a lot of the fluff that comes naturally with most JRPGs. Turns are determined very simply. The number of attacks you have is very limited. The number of party members you have is very limited. It's all very simplified and distilled. And so on the one hand, I kind of appreciate the fact that by removing Conval from the very beginning of the game, it kind of removes that complexity from the game, really leaning into the simplicity that... Simple gaming? Yeah, simple gaming! So it really leans into, when you start the game off, it really leans into that simple nature that the DNA of the game has been built around. On the other hand, however, without that additional complexity, without that additional layer to the combat is already kind of a little bit boring, as we already know, and without that additional layer there, it only means that there's just one less thing to think about, and meaning one less layer of complexity, meaning it's that much more boring. So that's kind of the debate that I was having, is like, do I want to keep Conval at the beginning of the game because it adds that extra depth to the game? Or do I want to make it a special passive effect that you... Like, I want to keep Conval in the game. That's the thing. I want to keep it there. I don't want to remove it. But should it be acquired later after completing a level, or should it be just there from the beginning of the game? It's basically what the debate comes down to. So, and I'm not really sure. I feel like I'm pretty happy with it. Like I said, it's because the DNA of the game is simple gaming, Mr. Orc. I kind of more appreciate it being acquired later. It's slowly adding complexity on top of the very simple mechanics. So, anyways, I don't know. That's the debate there. I got way sidetracked with that. I wanted to bring up Conval because there's also a lot of complexity with the options menu with that, where things get a little bit more crazy. So if we go to my common events again, all of that confidence balance stuff and the health gate mechanic is all in a single common event controlling passives. Here we go, battle passives. So you can see there's the health gate effect there. This one's pretty simple. It's just checking the HP of Fidel and deciding whether to apply a state or not. Fairly basic. Confidence balance is where things get a lot more complicated. First of all, because I have an item that also modifies how Conval works in the game, we have to take into consideration whether that item has been equipped or not. But then also there are different methods of how the Conval can be applied in the game due to game rules. So basically, like here, you can see there's the offense method. This is the default method. where if you are at the low side of your confidence, you will have boosted physical attack. And if you're at the high side of your confidence, you'll have boosted magic attack. That's the default method. So here I'm using that static variable to pass that information on. So like if the variable is set to 0, the default, you'll have the offense method here. Then down here, we're checking if the that static variable is set to 1, then we're going to use the defense method. So this kind of, as the name implies, makes it more defensive, where I think at the lower end of the magic meter, you are getting a defense buff, while at the top end of the magic meter, you are getting a state reduction buff, so you are less likely to receive states from enemies. Then there are the two other states, which are the two other methods, which are very similar in their design, but different ways of looking at Kanbal. So there's the up-down method. I actually refer to it as the gradient method, I think in the options menu, where, you know, if you think of a gradient, it's gradually changing from one thing to the other. So in this case, it's stack rate, where at the low side of the confidence meter, your stack rate is reduced. In the middle, your stack rate is normal, and then at the high side, your stack rate is increased. So you have this gradient of increasing your stack rate ability. And then the just right method is the same idea, but instead of going in a gradient, you're going in an arc, where you are most effective when you're keeping your confidence in the middle. You're neither too low on confidence nor too high on confidence. And then if you are too high or you are too low, then it will reduce your stack rate. So anyways, here, determining these different methods of how the confidence balance method is handled is taking that static variable and just checking what it's set to, and then of course setting up the rules for how that actually works within this common event. Oh. Okay, anyways, yeah, so I think that's gonna be enough about the options. So, there's another change I've made to my game that I really like. I've wanted to implement this into my game as just a for fun mechanic, but it's also a great debugging tool as well. I've played a lot of the Elder Scrolls. A lot. And whenever I'm bored in the game, one of the funnest things to do is just open up the console and, you know, put in random commands. It's also great whenever the this buggy-ass fucking game just doesn't do what you want it to do. So knowing console commands is really great. You just open up the console and you can just fix whatever problem you're having with the buggy-ass game. So I wanted to implement a console in my own game for a very long time, because not only is it a great debugging tool, but it's also great fun to have access to as a player if you're just bored. And so I wanted to implement one into my game, and I did. And I want to show off how this works. I really like this console. So I'll just start a new game. So by default, I don't really want players to access the console, so they'll just need to know what to do in order to be able to use it. First of all, the console is not assigned by default on the keyboard. You need to go into the keyboard layout and define what button you use to open the console. So you already need to be looking for that. Second, when you open up the console, you will have this dialog box, but you can't just put anything in. You can't just say, give me money. That doesn't do anything. You don't get money. Like, you can still see I'm here at 0, right? So you can't just type that in. You need to know what to do. And I'm not really going to provide information on this in the help document. If people are crazy enough to look this up, you can get this information. So, like, for example, right now, the way that the console is formatted, there are 2 different types. There's a game type and a fiddle type. So we can do console.game. So this is we're going to ask the console for the game type and then help. And it didn't work. Why didn't it work? What the fuck? Did I type it in wrong? Console.game help. Oh my god, what the fuck is the command? There is that problem. How do I fuck this up? I don't actually use this that much. Console debug. Oh, console. Okay, I had it wrong. Right. Console.help game. There we go. So it just tells me, like, here are the different things. I also have this open on my other screen. So game.clearpictures, game.common, cutscene, game.menu access on, game.rules access on off, game.save, game.setRules, game.setTown, 1 through 10. So I can also do console.help. Hey, Miss Gristle is here. Fiddle. Console.help fiddle. So we have fiddle.add equipment, accessory 1, 2, and a weapon. Fiddle.add item, healing pages, gear.chisel, gear.rod, fiddle.death, fiddle.op, fiddle.recover, fiddle.set level, +1, -1, fiddle.set location, cave, sea, town, fiddle.through, on, off. The through, on, off one is kind of useless when you're in playtest, because obviously you can just hold the Alt key down and then you can just have through, on. But that one would be good for deployed versions where you don't have access. So I could just type in fiddle.death and then just like that. Hooray! Console commands! So I can test all sorts of stuff out like that. I think it's going to play the intro because it's a new game. Yes, it is. Okay. So we'll just load a save. So, for example, here we're at the top of this lighthouse, and I can just do fiddle.setLocation town. And because the game is not designed for this kind of thing, we're going to keep the weather effects, unfortunately. But, oh no, it cleared the weather effects. Look at that. We could just do fiddle.setLocation. I misspelled it. Location, cave. There we go. Because my game doesn't have the save menu available from the main menu here, you can't save anytime. So one of the things that I've found the most helpful, actually, that I've used a lot is game.save. And it just allows me to access the save menu at any time. So this thing has been a big help for debugging, because like I said, recently I've been playing through the game from like the very beginning of the game through all the content I've made so far, and I have just had a record number of things that need to be fixed. It's crazy the amount of shit that I have found. So like here is playtest notes, and so this is everything I've written, and this is actually not everything because I've already crossed a few things off on this list. So, obviously we have some polishing to do. A lot of this shit here is, like, really basic stuff, like, I might have a text box that's split across 2 message boxes, when it really should not be split like that. Like, it's been split improperly, so I should end the sentence here and then move the rest of the sentence to the next text box or something like that. So, and then you have like fiddle.add item gear.chisel. There we go, and then I can just have the chisel right there. Oh, I already have the lightning rod on this save, I think, actually. Right? If we go to key items, yeah, we have the lightning rod right there. One of the other small things I've had this for a little while now in my game. It's been maybe a month. I just never brought it up. It's a small detail that I think players might appreciate, is because one of the most annoying things with JRPGs is, of course, the constant menuing that you have to do. The quicker you can navigate through menus, the better. Because Yawnfly keyboard config and button common events, you can just let's go there, and then you can just like, oh sorry, we shouldn't actually be there. Just press 1, and there we have items. You can press 2. There we have equipment. You can press 3. There we have stats. So, you know, you have hotkeys in order to access the different menus, to just quickly access the different things that you might want to access instead of having to open up the main menu, go to item or whatever, go to skill. Actually, skill is not mapped to the hotkeys. Go to equipment. So, that just makes it so much faster. What else? Game.set location town. I misspelled it. It's fiddle.set location town. There we go. It does, because the game is not designed for you to just do that. You can see how I've created the darkness in the cave. You can see my little dark screen that goes around the edges here. That gets erased when you exit the cave, but of course... Oh, I forgot to set the transfer correctly. I just recently made some changes to the shop. I was actually working on this just before the stream. This is another thing that I'm trying to figure out. I think I've settled on something that I'm happy with, but I'm still not 100% sure on this. So I would like some opinions on this. So one of the other aspects of the game's DNA, like, you know, we have the simple mechanic DNA, and then another part that makes up Fiddle is going to be the DNA of this very deeply rooted, like, freedom of choice, right? You can see it in the game's option from the title menu. You have the options menu, which gives you free reign over how you play the game. You can access the levels however you want. If you don't want to deal with any of the town stuff, you don't have to. The game is just riddled with play it however the fuck you want. It is freedom of choice, truly to the very core. And so when I was doing my recent playtest, going from the very beginning through all the content, there's one thing that felt very counterproductive to this DNA, and that was the shop. So the way that the shop was originally designed in my game is that you have the community mechanic. So as you level up the community, the shop would add more and more items to it. So, you know, obviously that encourages you to want to, you know, interact with the community, because you'd want to get better and better items. In fact, actually, this is still set up. So if I talk to the shopkeeper, so I could go to, like, buy sundries, and you can see these are the current items that are available to me, but these are not all of the items available yet. I would need to level up the town in order to access more items. And same thing if I want to, like, buy groceries. Some of the healing items that are available are limited based on what level the town is at. For the healing items, I think that's totally fine, and I'll probably keep it that way with the healing items. But I really didn't like how this Oh, that was... Oh, I need to fix that. Let me add that to the notes. Here we go. Let's put this here. Pressing escape. Oh, I should say where this is at. Shop. Pressing escape automatically selects by sundries. Is it spelled correctly? I feel like that's not how you spell sundry. Sundries? Sundries. I don't know. Anyways, we'll fix that later. I'll add a note here too. Also, is that the correct spelling for the word? Anyways. So, especially when it came to the equipment, I really didn't like how it's like especially the weapons were the really big one here that got me. Is that like you really your basic sword that you start out with is kind of hot garbage, and you're really kind of intended to find some sort of equipment to replace it soon. Sundries. Thanks. Yeah, so it's been misspelled. I'll need to fix that. You really are meant to replace it soon. And so, but with the way that with how it was designed before, which was based on the level of the town, it wouldn't make sense for you to just like start the game, go to the shop, and the shop doesn't have all of the items that you can buy, but it does have all of these fancy weapons. Like, that just didn't make a lot of sense to me. Like, it's like if the town is going to level up and add equipment as it goes, it should add the swords or the weapons as it levels up. Like, that just makes sense. So I needed to just like completely change the paradigm of how the shop works. Rather than adding new items as the town levels up, we just need to completely flip this on its head. And so what I wound up coming up with, which, like I said, I'm not entirely happy with, so I would like some opinions on, is that all of these items are going to be here, and I like them being visible too. I think that's way more appealing. So I put them here visible instead of just being stuffed into a menu. They're going to be here from the very beginning of the game. But to tie this into the town level up mechanic, rather than changing supplies as the game progresses, instead it's going to change prices. So basically at the very start of the game, all of your weapons are going to be very expensive, and so you would need to save up in order to access the weapons. But of course, if you level up the town, then you would be able to get discounts on the weapons, and so they would be much more affordable. And same thing goes for the armor as well. So, I like this mechanic more because it kind of leans more into that freedom of choice DNA that I was talking about that's within the game. Basically, you're not beholden to waiting for the arbitrary number to reach a certain point in order to get the gear that you want. You can basically get the gear that you want pretty much right out the gate, sort of. The one thing I don't like about this design, however, and the reason why I want some opinions on it, is that it's sort of weird. Because, first of all, typically as a game progresses, you tend to earn more money. And something just occurred to me that may be a solution to that, but I'll mention that in just a moment. So as you progress, you tend to get more money. So you are already gaining more money more quickly. Your economy is inflating as you progress through the game. So by end game, you should already be earning more money than at the start of the game. So if you, not only are you earning more money, but you're also, if you're progressing the game and the town is leveling up and the prices are also decreasing at the same time, it's almost like doubling the effect. It's like doubling the economy, right? And so it just doesn't make a lot of sense. So I don't know if I like that. That's one of the reasons why I just don't like that. I had another reason, but it's kind of slipped my mind. I sort of got caught up on this thing that just popped into my head while I was talking about that. I suppose one solution to this is that I've already flattened the XP curve. Like, in my game, I found there to be no reason to have an XP curve like in your typical JRPG. And so I suppose if I'm gonna flatten the XP curve, I might as well flatten the economy as well. Rather than have higher level enemies award more money, they might as well just award the same amount of money as they did at the very beginning of the game. I don't know, that also feels kind of shitty, because it's like you're not getting much of a reward for fighting harder enemies. So I don't know. What was the other point that I had about this? There was another point that I just didn't like about the idea of the prices decreasing as the game goes on. Oh, right. It feels kind of shitty because it's kind of like it's that feeling of like you just bought a game on Steam and then it goes on sale. And it's like, if I had just waited one fucking day, I could have saved $20 fucking dollars. You know, it's kind of like that. It's like, I feel like what would happen is that you wind up having players who never want to bite the bullet and just buy the fucking item because they're just sitting there thinking like, I just gotta just rank up the town and then I can buy it for less money, you know? So, I don't know. I'm just trying to find a more interesting way of dealing with the shop that allows for the freedom for players to, you know, be able to access equipment and items from basically the beginning of the game, because that's within, like, that's how my game is designed. That is within its DNA. But I also wanted to integrate with the town level up mechanic. Bruh. You got an answer? You got an opinion? Oh no. I'm not here for you to like I'm not here for you to rip apart my fucking analogies. I was just making an analogy. You don't have a refund mechanic in my game. You can't like buy the item and then it's like, oh, I just leveled up the town and it's worth less. I'm gonna refund the item and then buy it for like refund items. No, because like, I don't know, how would I even make that work? Right now, you can't activate any of these. They don't do anything. They're just the icons. So, I don't know. Non-issue. It's not, I mean, yes and no, Alice. It's kind of like, I want to integrate the progression, but how should the progression be integrated? And then, like, it... I don't know, like, something kind of popped into my head. Based on your jokes, Mr. Orc, is like, I could, to kind of like alleviate this problem, I could like just create like a random sales mechanic in the game where like, regardless of the level that the town is at, maybe there's like, oh, flash sale going on, buy the item at this low discounted price, and that way at least it might make players feel encouraged to buy that item, but also at the same time it might reduce the chances of them feeling like they would rather just wait until they've upgraded the town more. So maybe I could do that. I don't really hate that idea. Just make it like it picks like 2 items, like a weapon and a armor, and puts them on sale. Kind of doesn't make sense within the game. Yeah, unfortunately the game doesn't really have that like +1, +2 kind of... I mean, I guess I could implement it. It's sort of like... Again, with the freedom of choice thing, it's kind of like there's not a definite better choice for the item. Like, basically, the way I have these organized is very specific. So, like, these items here... So the way that the game works, of course, you apply the elemental stacks. And so you have weapons that are good at doing elemental damage, and weapons that are good at applying elemental stacks. So these weapons here will deal elemental damage. So if you are someone who wants to... If you're, like, more attack-focused, then you would pick these items. If you're more magic-focused, then you probably want to try to apply stacks easier, especially if you don't have confidence, then you might want to still be able to have a chance to apply attacks or apply stacks, so you'd want to more pick something like this. So really, it's in my mind, there's not really this is the best option kind of thing. It's not about like the power creep of the game. Everything I feel like is pretty balance. I'm seeing kind of a trend here where I guess that's the third pillar of my games design, for it to sound pompous about game design, is flat design. So like all of these weapons are better than your starting weapon, but what you decide to use is based on how you build your character, what you prefer to do. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not necessarily opposed to like a +1, +2 kind of thing. It's just also... So the other problem with that as well is that... and I'm not blaming you, by the way, because obviously you don't know my whole game in and out. So don't misunderstand me. I appreciate you giving me some thoughts, some spitballing ideas. You never know what random shit it's gonna like... You're gonna fling out there and like gives me an idea. Like Mr. Oric just throwing out there rebuy on sale like gave me the idea of maybe adding like a sales mechanic to the game. Like, so don't misunderstand me. I definitely appreciate you spitballing ideas out there. But anyways, so the other problem with that is that the game just uses such small numbers, which means even like a +1 increase in damage is a pretty big increase in damage. Why is Fidel's starting weapon garbage? Why not? make it, you know, not so. Just asking. I suppose there's not really much of a reason. Maybe that's just a archaic leftover from when this game was more of a supposed to be kind of like a learning process tech demo kind of thing. I do kind of like how its role in the game because, and I've noticed this as well when I've been doing my playtest recently, is that so all of these weapons here are elemental, which maybe in some rare occasions you might not want elementals. So your starting weapon is neutral. It's the only weapon that's like it doesn't have an interaction with the stacking mechanic, and so maybe that's what you want. Like, all of these weapons have an interaction with the stacking mechanic. So, like, this is what I've experienced as I was doing my playtesting. One thing that the game does encourage is that if a level is too difficult, go to a different level. You are free to do that. There's nothing stopping you from just leaving the level that you're at and going to another level. And so in that regard, what happens is, like, oh, I bought this, what am I using in, oh, right, I forgot the transfer is set to the wrong location. What did I wind up buying? Yeah, I bought this combustion combine whip because the level that I was doing, the fire, I really wanted to output more fire damage. So I bought the combustion combine. But then I was having trouble because the boss was really difficult, so I decided to move on to the cave level, where all the enemies there are fire. Now, there are no elemental resistances, so I'm not doing less damage. However, the poor interaction here, the poor synergy, is that ideally you want to be using either wind or electric elements on these enemies. But because this does fire, and the way that the stacking mechanic works, if you try to apply another element to an existing element, it removes the other element and adds the new one. So basically, I'm trying to apply electric stacks or wind stacks to this enemy, but because my weapon is a fire weapon, if I use my basic attack, it strips all those stacks. So basically, it's like, if I don't want to strip the stacks accidentally, I can no longer use my basic attack. I just have to sit there and defend. So that's kind of where I like the role of your basic starting weapon. It's garbage, but it has no interaction with the elements. So it doesn't matter what level you are in, it will always be useful. Ran out of beer. That sucks. You guys keep jamming out the music and spitballing ideas. I'm gonna grab a drink. I don't really need to pee, but I guess if I'm gonna get up and take a break now, I might as well just see if I can't empty the bladder. So chill out for a moment, enjoy the music, and turn it up. Turn it up. realize I turned it up that much. Damn, 16. That would be fine. Yeah, I think so. Okay. Anyways. Well. I don't know, I was kind of thinking of the sales mechanic, like how I'd want to do that. Because I don't hate that, and I feel like it's not the best solution, but it sort of counteracts the problem of, you know, wanting to wait for, like, the best price. So, I was just trying to think how it just couldn't be exploited heavily, because, like, it couldn't set the sale price every time you enter. I also don't just want it to be, like, on a random timer. Like, I don't want it to just be, like, you know, every 10 minutes or something, a new piece of equipment is on sale or something. So, while I was taking my pee break there, I was kind of thinking, like, the way that the town is set up is that it runs a check every time you enter the town. You may notice, you may not notice, depending on things. There is a very short delay whenever you enter the town, and it's just because it runs a lot of checks and stuff whenever you enter the town. But it only does it once. It's not like a parallel process that's constantly running in the background. This is just for, like, reducing performance overhead. It just, like, whenever it's checking, like, the town's level or the XP or whatever, setting up wherever the litter is, like this litter here, this litter here or whatever. It only needs to do that once, so no reason to have it running as a parallel process in the background. So it just runs that once whenever you enter the town. So I was thinking, if it just runs it once whenever you enter the town, it could. That's when it could determine the what the sales item is when you enter the town. Then whenever you exit the town, honestly, that would be good enough for me. Honestly, this is totally fine right here, because basically if someone wanted to really exploit the sales, they'd have to walk from here all the way back to the shop, check what's on sale, and if the item that they want is not on sale, then they'd have to go all the way back out of town to that exterior and then back to the shop. And oh right, I really need to adjust that transfer. And that's pretty much good enough already, but I think I could probably just add like an interruptible timer where basically, I don't know, like, would say like 20 seconds or something. If the player is outside of the town for like 20 seconds, then it will allow the item to be the new item to be on. I don't know. I was just thinking through like how to set that up. How long am I streaming for? 2.5 hours. Okay. So. I don't know. Yeah, like I said, this was just something that I was working on just before the stream, so obviously there hasn't been a lot of thought. I mean, there has been some thinking about this, but I really hadn't been thinking too heavily about this problem until I started doing my recent playtest through all of the content. I do have to say, like, playing through all of the content from the very beginning to the up to 2 levels. 2 levels are now complete. It's really cool watching how the game transformed. and also horrifying, because, gosh, it just kind of feels like, holy shit, this game has a lot of problems. I have a lot longer of a road ahead of me than I thought. It mostly comes down to, like, balancing problems, and I think that's kind of the most horrific part, is it kind of feels like, this thing's too easy, and that thing's too hard, everything's out of whack! So, I don't know. Let's see if I can get, so far through this is the playtest. I still haven't technically finished it, although I have pretty much done all of the content. So I've completed this level, and it's really funny, Mr. Orc, because you had, and I totally understand the complaint too, but it's funny that you mentioned that, you know, in the beta test, obviously, you started here in the cave level, and then you only had access to the left side of the cave level plus the caldera. And you're talking about how long this one half is. And yeah, it is definitely very long if you don't know what you're doing. I thought this was really funny when I was playtesting the game. So obviously the level that I did before this, the Seas, it's a lot more combat focused and a lot less puzzle focused. So it's kind of ironic, despite knowing exactly what to do in the Seas, it takes a longer time for me to complete the Seas than it does for me to complete the cave, because the cave is mostly dependent on its puzzles. Once you know how to complete the puzzles, it's actually kind of a short level. And that was kind of a disappointing realization that I came... Actually, it's not... It's a little bit disappointing, and it's a little bit not. Because I was worried that this level would be short. That was my original concern. I was like, wow, compared to the Seas, this level feels so much shorter by comparison. And then I did the beta test, and everyone was like, wow, that's just half the level. That is really long. And I was like, oh, well, shit, now I'm really concerned that the Seas is going to be too short of a level in comparison. And then I did the beta test, and it was like, no, actually, once you know what to do, this is kind of a short level. Like, I get that, like, the first experience is kind of the most important one. So I think most people's experience with the cave is likely going to be, this is a long level. But it's a relief to know that actually it's not. It's just that you have to know what to do with the puzzles, and once you figure that out, it's not so bad. So, ooh, there were some layering problems there. I just noticed that. Right there. Let's add that to the list. Ooh, no, that's the wrong thing. Where is it? To fix. Cave Central. Layering problems. Near the large chasm. Right side. Shadows overlap. Yeah, no, just leave it like that. Oh, I need to move the crown, too. It can only, let's see, move the unbalanced tiara to the chest that can only be accessed After level complete, swap it with the current item. There we go. So, I guess while we're here, I do kind of want to show this off. I don't know, man. Do I want to show this off? Not so many people watch these kind of streams, right? Especially not this far. So, like, it is technically spoilery, I guess, but it's so cool, man. It's so cool. So, I don't know, if you're in the stream... I don't know if I'm gonna get there. I have to complete Caldera Colosso and the boss. There is also kind of a problem with the boss, and it's that it's not set up for dying. I don't think I added the if I die. I don't think I added what happens if you die on the boss, so may just soft lock. I don't know. Yum yum, more money, very nice. There's an option to disable call, so. No, but actually, funnily enough, I talked to my mom about that. My mom of all people. And she had recommended like having like fairy dust spawn. Having fairy dust spawn, like having a game rules options that like as you progress through the Caldera Colosso, you'll like leave behind a breadcrumb trail so you could find your way back. I've tried to think about how I could implement that and whether I want to implement it or not. It would probably take a lot of work for that kind of game rule. The one thing about a lot of the game rules that I've implemented is that they're usually pretty quick and easy to set up. There's a few exceptions to that, but most of them are quick and easy things that I can set up. So I don't know if I do want to set that up, but I might. I will consider it. So we have the Caldera Colosso right here. I have to go through all of... Oh, right. I knew this. It's not triggering the event properly. I think we're going to go to like 200 or something. I don't remember. I don't remember what number it's... Oh, what's the flag checking for? This one... Okay. So it's like the cave progress is too high? So... let's write that down. By Caldera Colosso cave progress variable is too high, maybe. There we go, added that to the list. Alright, that should fix it. Yeah, there we go. And this animation needs to be fixed. It's missing sound effects and it's all wrong. There are improvements to Caldera Colosso that we will see shortly. It's not going to be there. There are some guaranteed chests. So you have the this indicator here that indicates how close or far away you are from the center. And there are these guaranteed chests here as well, right at the intro. Like the same build of equipment that I had before I fell into Caldera Colosso. One thing I wanted Caldera Colosso to be is also a good chance for people to test out like different builds. Because the one thing I worried about is with all the equipment basically having the same power level, is that it's very easy to find an equipment set that you are happy with and not try anything else. So like this is a good chance for people to kind of explore other options without having to spend any money. Which is also why it was part of the beta test. Like there's been this improvement here. I don't... Oh, I narrowed it down here. I narrowed the path down so that way to make a more narrow zone to trigger the alert change for the distance checker counter. That was also the same that I had. Alright. 2 minutes left. Probably start heading back to the center. Grab it. And I'm still streaming. Yes, indeed I am. I think I'm probably play through this section and then I don't know, probably call it after that. I never got an accessory one. Damn it. Colosso is slow. I know I can count on Michael Primo to have my back on Colosso. Plus, oh no, that's Comp. I thought that was Magic Attack. I was like, +8. Wow, that's really unbalanced. What the fuck happened there? No, okay, that's Comp. That's still pretty good. The +8, holy shit, man. I think I'll probably go with that. Yep, I think that's gonna be my build. I don't have any accessory 1. So that's gonna be it. It's funny, I don't like roguelikes, but I have this roguelike system in my game. Just one section, that's all. Let's see, so I'm going to be relying on my magic attack for this fight, so I'm going to remove this guy. He needs to go away. We want the guy that debuffs physical attack. Damn, it's fucking hard. The new sound effects? Yeah. Man, I can't get a stack on him though. But he's got a stack on me. Probably be careful, he hits really hard. Probably wipe me out with a nice solid punch. Or that. Also missing an animation on it. Oh, see? Well, this is why I usually have the... Oh, yeah, you're right. This is why I usually have the pumping set. Let's just enable that again. So it should just turn down now, as it did before. Thank you for letting me know, Mr. Primo. Oh, wait. Oh, wait, does that get cut off? No. Right, I forgot. I have the high chance. There we go! I have the equipment to do this. High chance to apply fire stacks. But goddammit, he also has a high chance. We don't want to do that. Let's stabilize myself. I'm not sure why the fish is still here. It should be removed. Something has gone wrong. Currently, in the current build of the game, you cannot get more stones. But I know that. I'm aware of that. I needed to add a special addition to the shop that I just hadn't ever gotten around to doing. This right here, this pile of stones, after you get the chisel and hammer, you'll be able to go to the shop and buy more stones. Apply a stack, motherfucker! Oh no. It only has one stack, man. It's supposed to be an 80% chance! There it is. Alright. The stacks are gonna fade at some point eventually. So I feel like I can't just let him... I can't just coast on the stacks that he has. Oh, fuck. So I should probably juggle at this point. Oh, he's gonna die anyway, so sure, finish him off with style! Hit him for a big number! 27! Easy. Level up! Woo! This is also not working correctly, although I could have sworn I had already fixed this. I don't know why it's not. There we go. Oh, did it not remove the equipment? Oh, okay, alright, that definitely needs to be written down. Okay, so let's add both of those. After Caldera Colosso, doesn't set the cave progress variable appropriately. If player is entered missing some items. In addition to that, Caldera Colosso does not remove the old equipment acquired during the games. There we go. So it shouldn't be like that. We'll just pretend that it's not there. I had the ribbon equipped before, and I just acquired that. I don't have Conval, so there's no reason to have that equipped. There we go. So then there's the boss, which obviously was not seen during the beta test because he had not been implemented yet. Why the f is the fish still in the party? It should be removed. What is it doing? It's supposed to be removed at the end of the fight when you something's gone wrong again. Which means if the fish is there, I can't use the statues. God damn it. Let's add that to the notes. For some reason, the fish, or let's just say the statue, because it's not always going to be a fish. The statue does not get removed from the party at the end of the Caldera Colosso boss. Dead fish, loyal and faithful. Yeah, except he's totally useless, and I'm gonna show you this. I have a failsafe implemented into the Ego Artifacts Paradis skill. If I try to create a statue now, if there's a statue already in the party, players should never see this. In the rare chance that you have something funky happen, I have a failsafe implemented. So watch what happens if I try to do that. I can't do that. So, basically, the dead fish is just baggage in this fight. Oh no! The debug is still in the boss fight. Oh no, all the debug stuff is still in the boss fight. This is, alright, we're gonna get an alert every single round what his, current health is at. Yes, I know, there is this here. Don't ask me why I have a debug text box pop up. I don't remember why that was there, but the debug text box pop up is there for a reason. I just don't remember why. Yes, you lose the stone. The stone is gone. Like I said, ideally, that the player should never ever see that happen. However, things would get busted if there are 3 party members in the game. The game is not, the battle system is not designed for 3 party members. So the failsafe is there. There's no revive skill. There's no revive skill in the game. What's supposed to happen is when the statue dies, is it's supposed to be removed from the party. I don't know why it didn't get removed. I'm actually a little bit surprised to see this. Originally, this would happen. This would happen in the playtest too. And that's because of the stacking plugin that I have. Had a bug with it where the number of stacks was limited. Like the number of states that could be applied to the player was limited by whatever I specified the number of stacks to, if that makes sense. So basically, if I said you can only have 5 stacks, that also means you can only have 5 states total. And I use an invisible state to determine when you have used Ego Artifex Paratus and when you have not. When there is a statue in the party and when there is not. And so what would happen in the playtest is if there was enough states applied to Fiddle, it would not be able to apply that invisible state to Fiddle. And as a result, you would either you would wind up with a party member that doesn't get removed because of that bug. However, I got that bug fixed. You can now apply as many states as you want to the character. There's no more limit there. So I don't know why the fish did not get removed during the fight. So obviously that's something I need to investigate. There's something clearly going wrong with the logic here that I need to figure out. Anyways, in the meantime, I'm stuck with dead weight. Probably just give it con P. Well, I was able to apply that first stack of wind susceptible. Oh, okay. You get to see more debugging text boxes. Cool. Oh, I totally forgot to equip. Oh my gosh, this is a disaster of a fight. I forgot to equip. Despite the equipment screen popping up, which I deliberately put that there to remind players. So after all of your Caldera Colossal items are pushed out of you and burned up, you then, the process is the player can pick up their original items, the items that they dropped upon entering Caldera Colosso. You'll see what that random variable is for. After picking up the items, I deliberately made it push the equip screen because I had a feeling players would forget to equip the items after picking them up. So I deliberately pushed the equip screen after picking up all the items, so that way they'd remember, oh yeah, I need to equip that stuff. And I forgot to equip one of my fucking items! Let's get prepared. Once that random variable hits the right number. I probably should have, I can feel like an unexperienced player. Yes. This fight, I feel like I had playtested quite thoroughly. I feel like he's appropriately challenging, but very possible without equipment. Because that's actually how I playtested him. I playtested him with very minimal equipment. That's how I tend to playtest the balance of a lot of my bosses. It's like very minimal equipment. So as long as you're getting geared up, I think most of the bosses should be pretty easy. Of course, this boss also depends on you using the statue, considering that's what you acquire during this... There we go. That's what you acquire during this boss fight. Or during this level. You acquire the tools to build statues. So, considering I can't build statues, that's gonna be a real fucking problem. Yeah. We'll heal up first. God, they already have a bunch of fire stacks on me. Right. Yep, there we go. This is about having a statue, because you will get overwhelmed pretty quick if you don't have statues. Nice. I mean, I'm doing pretty well without the statue. But, I mean, like I said, it's the item you get in the level. So, like, I want you to use the item that you receive in the level. I have 5 stacks on me. Alright, thanks, Mr. Primo. Thanks for joining again. Ah, oh, damn, why did I attack him? There's one that's already close to death. Stop it! God, that was with damage reduction too. Holy shit! Healing? Deal with the ads first. Stop him from healing. Or not. Ah! Ah! God damn it! Alright, so this is what I was saying. I don't know if there's, I don't think I set up the defeat conditions for the boss. I don't know what's gonna happen. Maybe nothing? Nothing? Yeah. I think technically that would just mean, yeah, I could just trigger the boss fight again. Actually, I should have set up OP Fiddle so we could just let me die again? Okay, yeah, that should be easy. Let me just die again. Also, glad to see my fish is alive. Okay. So, here's where console commands come in. Fiddle.op. Alright, let's try this again. Okay! Winner! Alright, now finally I get to show off this. And the fish will come along with me too, I guess. I am just going to skip through the text, though, because, you know, spoilers and whatever. I guess technically if you were really that curious about story and stuff, that you wanted to see all this before the game release, then you could theoretically just pause during each text box, but you'd have to be insane for that. Oh, and what do I do? And this is what I had showed off before. So we have the short little mini game here. Just like that. Doesn't take very long to figure out. Just thematically consistent with the game. Well, I wanna hide that. I do want to hide some of this stuff, actually. I think some people got to experience this actually during the beta test, but anyways. Wait, why is it playing the... Oh. That's the like most disheartening thing, right? This is what I was talking about. It's like playing through the game from beginning to end. And then seeing just like all these bugs and stuff. It's just like, I swear this was working properly in all the like momentary playtests, like the playtest that I did just at that point in the game. I skipped through that a little bit too fast, but oh well. But then once you play through the whole thing and it's like, why is all this shit falling apart? I don't understand why it's falling apart. Where did stuff go wrong? So there we have it. That's, oh. Why is the movement set so slow? I think that should be fixed if I just, transfer maps. Ugh. That's what I'm saying. Why is it like this? Why is I playtested like that whole like, oh no, movement's still not fixed. I needed to add this to the fucking console, but I never did add, never did add it. Anyways, it's like, I don't get it, man. It's like, I would, just jump to the like Caldera Colosso section, for example. I would modify all the variables and stuff to make sure that all the flags are being set. And then, so I would start at like Caldera Colosso and I'd play through from Caldera Colosso until the completion of the level, and it's like everything's working fine, all of this checks out, cool, we're good to go. In fact, that's like, this was the last thing I was working on, was the end level stuff, because if you can't tell, the level changes quite a lot after you complete it. Oh, look at that, you can now walk on the cooled lava, which means now you have access to new areas in the in this level. Just for some bonus secrets. There's nothing super important, but yeah. So I don't get it. It's like I playtested from Caldera Colosso to the end of the level, and everything seemed good. And once everything seemed good there, I was like, okay, well, let's playtest the game from beginning to this point. I'm going to play through the beginning. I'm going to play through the first level I made. I'm going to play through the cave level up until the very end. And I'm going to document everything that needs to be fixed along the way. I did not expect such severe flaws from this portion of the game, considering it was the last thing that I had been playtesting before doing, the beginning to end playtest. I like how the lighting is here. I don't know why the lighting was also not present in the other room. What the fuck happened there? It's the most disheartening thing. It's like, I just want to fucking give up. It's like, there's so much shit that's just busted. Why is all this shit busted? And how come it wasn't busted when I just, like, did the momentary playtest before? Just throw this whole fucking game in the garbage. It's done. Everyone complained the combat's boring. The game's a buggy fucking mess. Get rid of it. We're done with it. I really need to add the... Really need to add the movement speed to the console command. You can't get me, fuck you. I don't know if it's really a skill issue. Thanks, yeah, I really like this song. Like, so, all of the levels, the way that I had planned is that, you know, there's a mystery to be solved in the level, and you're there to solve it. And once you solve it, I wanted it to feel like, well, you solved it. You know, you accomplished a thing. So the level needs to change a little bit, and I felt like the music needs to change as well. Now, considering this game originally was intended to be somewhat of just kind of a short development game, kind of a tech demo kind of thing, I just wanted... Not this one. Well, fuck you. I like this one. I thought it was appropriate. Basically, is what I have to say to that. Oh yeah, see, this is also bugged. This is why I added this game.menu access. Oh, actually, you know what I bet it is? Is game.common cutscene. Yep. Yep, there it is. That's why that's part of the console commands. Anyways, so originally, I just had a single song that I wanted to use for level completion to indicate, hey, that's it, that's level completion. Oh, does this enemy just, like, disappear after he's defeated? When I reached the end of the cave, the end level song was just a little bit too cheerful. One thing I liked about the cave is actually, like, before you complete the cave, is that it feels very lively. You have, like, the earthquake effect that's going on, the music is really dramatic, and you have all the lighting effects, you have the fish, you have all this other stuff that's going on, and then once you cool things off, I really wanted to, like, capture this kind of, you know, contrasting kind of feeling to what the cave was like before. So, I decided that that song that I had before was not good enough. So, but I didn't want to spend a long time writing a new song. So this one, I will admit, I kind of threw together pretty quickly, but I actually really like it. Quite a lot. Very chill, and really captures the more calm vibes. So, anyways. Oh, that's actually the wrong way. I mean, I don't know where I'm going. I really like the change in the level. And I was just chatting away there. Missed what you'd said. Absolutely, in as much as people complain about the weird fiddle sound effects for everything, I think they're cool. Yeah. Actually, you had mentioned that before, and because you mentioned that, I tried focusing a little bit more on utilizing that kind of stuff. Like the alert sounds whenever you step into an enemy's territory. Yeah, like that. I still haven't created the, like, start combat sound. It's still the RTP kind of sound. But I've been thinking about like what I want it to be, and I was kind of thinking maybe just like using the fiddle sound effects again. It's maybe just like a really kind of dissonant chord, just like a dun-dun whenever combat starts or something like that. I don't know. Been kind of playing around with it in my head what I think might sound good for the start combat sound effect. Yeah, yeah. If you couldn't tell, there's a large number of sound effects that have just not been implemented. Like when I was doing the boss fight at least has his animations. I'm usually pretty lazy about doing animations as well. But I'm often pretty lazy about animations and sound effects. I managed to get the animations for the boss fight in there going, but I couldn't be asked to do the sound effects at the time. I usually kind of like if I'm gonna do sound effects, I kind of like to have just like a list of sound effects to knock off, and I'll just kind of do a bunch in a row, knock them out, and then not mess with sound design for a little bit. So. Alright, well, anyways, I guess that's completion of the playtest, too. It's a little bit somber, but, I don't think so. We almost listened to that, actually, when I was playing the soundtrack earlier. Here it is. How loud is that in OBS? We'll move that over there. We just have some improv piano chords. That kind of goes through until we have this pad come in. Pad. And then a little bit later we add in the guitar. Where's the guitar? There it is. Go back. Drums and guitar. Yeah, I like this track though. And I mean, you're not necessarily wrong about the but at what cost kind of part. Again, that's sort of kind of the feeling I wanted to go for. Like, not like the whole fucking team died, but at what cost is sort of kind of it. Because as I was saying, it's like, I want this really stark contrast of like, this place felt very alive before, and then after you complete the level, it's sort of lifeless. So it is kind of supposed to be at like, but at what cost? Something to give pause about. What does that mean within the context of the game? I guess. It's just me being artsy fartsy. Being a pretentious fucking artist. That's what it is. So. Anyways, I managed to stream 3.5 hours despite not really having much content for today. Yeah. I should go back to the regular streaming schedule next week. Like I had mentioned at the top of this stream, I am thinking of making some adjustments to my game stream format. Unless I find an appropriate app that I can... a timer app where I can pause and start with like a hotkey or something. Unless I can find that before the next stream, what I'll likely do is I'm only going to have 3 games selected, but instead of doing 35 minutes for each of those games, I'm going to do 45 minutes for each of those games. And then if I can find an app where I can just pause the timer with a hotkey, then I might be able to go back to the 4 game stream. Maybe. So anyways, I do have some games already picked out because I had some developers contact me. 2 of them for sure. Both of them are RPG Maker games. I did have a non-RPG Maker developer reach out to me, but his game just looked really not good. It was a maze game. It was a maze block pushing game, and it's just like, oh yeah, everyone's first game. Cool. I don't want to play that. Sorry. It just looked really, really boring. And it didn't even have nice style to it. It looked very, like, default Unity kind of thing. And so it's just like, yeah, thanks for reaching out to me. I don't know why this is going to... By the way, it's going to be a commercial game. Don't know why it's going to be a commercial game. I'm not interested. He also had some strange requests, too. He was like, here's what you get. You'll receive a press kit, and you'll receive a game key plus extra game keys for a giveaway that you can do on your video. What I want to receive is a review of my game. I want you to include my game's title, or my game's title within your video's title. That was one of the things that kind of stopped me. It's like, a lot of the other stuff was pretty sensible, like make sure you include a link to the game in the description. You know, stuff like that. It's like, yeah, sure. But it's like, don't tell me how to title my videos. No. I do the clickbaiting. You are not the clickbaiter here, sir. Don't tell me how to clickbait my videos. That was one thing that kind of just bothered me, is another reason why I turned it down. Especially because, like, for the format of my videos, like, I could probably maybe do some sort of clickbaity thing if I just covered one video or one game in the video, and that was it. But it's that I cover multiple games, and it's like, I'm not gonna dedicate the title solely to your game when there are 3 other games in my stream. I'm not gonna do that. It seemed like he was just not aware of how I do my content. Now, I mean, he was at least honest about that too. He's pretty straightforward, just saying, I'm just reaching out to a bunch of different YouTubers and streamers. So, I mean, he didn't explicitly say, I don't want your content, but it sounded pretty clear in the email that he's like, I don't want your content, I just need people to cover my game. Which is fine. But it shows that he was not aware of how my content works, because I'm not going to title my stream just for his game when there are other games in my stream. So, anyways, so I did have you know, a non-RPG Maker game person reach out to me, but I declined the game. So I do want to include a non-RPG Maker game in the stream, so if I already have 2 RPG Maker games picked out, I'll just have to find something else to play. So I don't know what that's going to be, but I guess I'll have to look. Not a tea as well. Man, I'm so thirsty today. Here's my beer, my tea. Alright. Well, with all that covered, thanks so much for joining the stream. And I guess I'll see you guys next week with whatever games I have picked out. And that's it. Thank you so much. And let's just listen to the end of the song and then we'll say goodbye. Oh, that's the wrong thing.